is Daniel Clark. I am the Creative Director with Libraries Unlimited, and Libraries Unlimited is a charity and public service mutual that represents 54 libraries across Devon and Torbay. We're also one of the 6 library MPOs, and I head up a team of us called Evolve, and what we're looking at is kind of new commissions and new artworks and new ways of working in libraries. So what we're presenting today is one of the projects that has been in development for the last couple of years, the Lost Librarian, and it started from an early commission with us, and as we just love the project, and so I've worked with the artist team to develop it further. The film that you've seen shows the first phase of R&D and the start of the focus groups that we had. And the piece has since been redesigned based on feedback and rigorous testing, and was set to launch in Devon Libraries in March 2020. Obviously, unfortunate timing because COVID lockdowns and all the rest of it hit. And the artist teams have been working hard to redesign the experience as a COVID secure escape room experience for support bubbles and family groups of up to 6 at a time. The piece is recommended for those who are 12 and over, but also younger kids if they're accompanied by adults. And we are launching in Exeter Library at the end of November, and after initial testing tour of Devon Libraries, we've got a short tour of 3 libraries this year. This is going to be available for national touring from spring 2021. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to the team. So you'll be hearing from myself and Michael White, who's the creative producer with Evolve, at the end of this short presentation. But now I'd like to hand over to Lizzie, Kyle and Matt, part of the core creative team for the Lost Librarian.
Thank you, Daniel. I'm Matt Gibbs. I'm part of the creative team on the Lost Librarian. I'm the writer, narrative designer and puzzle designer on the project. And this is?
I'm Kyle Hironi. I'm a creative technologist and roboticist, and I basically crammed everything to do what it does.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Johnson, and I'm the designer and fabricator of the Lost Librarian. So as we've got it set up today, this is the Lost Librarian in its escape room format. It's basically been changed from being kind of individual books that could be placed on the library shelves to being 10 books across 3 podiums, which you can see around us. Each podium has a maximum of 4 books on it, which enables teams and like the smaller groups, as Daniel said, of a bubble or 6 people that can come in and work together around each individual podium. So Matt's going to talk you through a little bit of the storyline behind the Lost Librarian and start showing you some of the books.
Yeah, so the entire experience is wrapped up in a narrative. We've got a contemporary character called Molly, who is a librarian who has gone missing. So she was looking into the history of 3 women in Devon, 3 women accused of witchcraft. They're actually based on the Bideford witches, which was a real witch trial that actually happened in the late, I believe it was 1680s. But we didn't feel it was appropriate to actually use the original women. So we actually created 3 fictional women and created a new story, sort of like around the witch trials. Anyways, the narrative itself progresses as you move through the experience from podium to podium. So the books allow you to explore it in like a non-linear fashion on each of the podiums. But as you unlock the next level, the story then moves on. And it allows us to kind of manage and play with people's expectations. And the narrative also leads into the puzzles themselves. We've also been able to secure Sheila Aitin, who has done some lovely voiceover work for us. So the very first book, when you open it, also will speak to you and hopefully bring people into the puzzle and engage them with it, while the final book also does the same, sort of like it is a sign-off from her. But the main part of the experience, the main thing of the narrative, is to focus people onto the puzzles, which Lizzie can take you through rather than that.
Cool. So as you can see on the first podium here, we've got books of like a shelf of books, and then the puzzle books are actually nestled in and amongst, and we've got this color code ID. So the first tier of books are all green, which means they're open and people can pull them off the shelf and begin playing straight away. So this first book, as Matt explained, we've got the narrative of the story just on this page. This includes a paragraph from Molly, who's leading us through the whole experience, and then 2 kind of more historical chronicles that give a bit of background to the story of the 3 women. Then on this page, we've got the first puzzle. This is what we call a passive puzzle. So it's kind of using technology, but not in kind of like a fully electronic way. So the clue is place the looking glass against the jars to find which ingredient rings true. So as you can see, there's an illustration of different vessels that all hold different types of herbs. So it's kind of like feeding into that theme of herbalism that the 3 women used. So if I then use this little piece here to come across the page, you start to see there's a darker shadow on this one, which gives us a ring. And that indicates to the people that they found the correct herb. So the first clue to take on to the next tier is sage.
Yes, again on this first podium, I can take you through another one of the books. So this one, same to what Lizzie was just saying, because it's the first podium, these are completely open books. They don't actually have a code on their cover to open them up. But this one's got a lot more tech inside it. So again, on the left-hand side is a narrative page. This one explains a bit more about our 3 women, Margaret Shaw, Elizabeth Trembles, and Agnes Wynne, giving a feel of where they come from in Devon, their ages, as well as the date of our fictional trial in June 1679. But the main thing about this one is it's a maze puzzle. And what we've done is we've tried to replicate the technology that you might find on your phone or on an iPad, but we've done so in wood. So you should be able to trace your finger through the maze, following the path. And when you get towards the center, it should open. Though today, in this rehearsal studio, my hand's very cold. So we're having like a little bit of sort of like issues kind of like with it. And it was working perfectly before we went live. So let me just try it one more time. And I'm just going to try and reset the book. So if you do have technical issues, you can like wipe the book and reset it. But what normally happens, and we're still in the R&D phase and the testing phase of all these books at the moment, when you do trace your way through the maze, it should reveal. Yeah, hopefully, sort of when you're setting it up, it will not be as cold as it is in here today. So, and also we are still in the production build of this kind of project. So there are a few tiny little tweaks that we need to kind of make on some of the tech. Anyway, over to Kyle with another one of the books.
Yeah, so as Matt was saying, none of the tech has been tuned or finalized on its final logic, which has all been passed from the previous generation and being upgraded to being more robust, a bit more reliable. So they're actually running last generation software, which is why they're a bit flaky. So that is yet to come. So here is an example of the next tier up, which has a blue keyhole code and illustrations on the cover. The illustrations on the cover are all symbolic and are no longer weird anagrams or puzzling words that people couldn't get their head around. And the symbols are all given to you from the tier below. And here is an illustration of backlit wood, which also has the capacitive touch sensors. So this would work like a touch response. And as you can see, as I touch them, they now go green because I put the new code in which case the book is now unlocked. As the theme follows through, you've got the narrative page on the left and the puzzle on the right. And as you can see here, it says, our home once bathed in light, our home bathed in light once more shall see my truth illuminated. So obviously here's the scene of an eclipse. And if I light up the world, get a reveal, which in about 10 seconds should then reset. And I can do that again, so you can see, there we are. Oh, yeah. We upgraded a lot of this stuff from the last version, where we've included interesting ways to isolate the electronics and lid, mechanical systems for opening and closing the books, and all of that stuff. But yeah.
Awesome. So that's a little sneak peek of the Lost Librarian. There will be 10 books in total, of which all 10 will have technology inside them. So there'll be 9 puzzles to play, and the final book has a prop in that just kind of like helps conclude the story alongside the audio from our kind of like Molly character. I think that's everything for now. We hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll hand back to Michael and Daniel.
Great. So I'm Michael White. I'm the creative producer for Libraries Unlimited. I'm just going to talk through a bit of technical information. So the minimum space requirements for the Lost Librarian is a 4 meter by 4 meter warmer space than the guys are currently in, and it just needs between 3 and 5 electrical sockets in order to run each of the podiums and the lighting. We are trialing it from sort of late November in Exeter, and we're charging £12 per session. So that's in order to sort of make it accessible to different groups. But during that period, we'll be asking for audience feedback about the costing levels. As I think we said, it will be available from spring 2021 for touring. We're currently running it as 1 hour time slots for each group to book on, with a 30-minute turnaround to allow for any sort of overrun, but also to allow for cleaning. The books have all been varnished, and we've researched sort of different cleaning methods that are appropriate to keep the piece as safe as possible. It can run through daytime and evening slots. We are going to be trialing it for a month in Exeter, and then we're trialing it for another 2 sets of touring. So during that period, there's a lot of kind of testing period to kind of get out any sort of snags that we might have, and also to see how bookings might go. And when we do tour it, will be toured with a technical manager and a host. So at this moment in time, we haven't put any pricing structures in place because we're still sort of learning as we go along. But what we'd be looking for is expressions of interest for people who might want to host the piece, and that might be that we can put partners together and look to fundraise to kind of have a subsidised tour. Daniel.
So this works. Okay, so I was just going to talk quickly through wraparound activity that we've got planned for the while it's in Exeter, and possible things going forward. So we're talking about a masterclass on narrative game writing. Matt Gibbs, who was there as part of the team, is a very well-respected and accomplished computer game writer, but we have access and links to other people. We've been talking about a Fab Lab workshop. So the Fab Lab is a provision that's available in 2 of our libraries, and is basically a fabrication laboratory, 3D printers and laser cutters, and have a lot of the machines that this kind of work was created on. So that's possibly something that we could offer out as a touring offer. We're looking at kind of books and badge, so you could make it either participants can make their own books, or a sort of small one, or sort of light up badges. So kind of quite a nice accessible craft, kind of future craft activity for families. We're looking at interactive workshops in Twine being accessible game writing technique or platform. Litcraft workshops. Litcraft's something that we've been looking at in our libraries for a while. So it's Minecraft, but based around popular works of fiction, and especially to encourage young boys to pick up reading. And we've got a large-scale short story writing competition in collaboration with White Rabbit, who run a thing called Are You Sitting Comfortably, which basically is a series of short story writing masterclasses, a competition for the 8 best short stories around the theme of witches, and then at the end of it, professional actors read out the best short stories in a kind of adult storytelling experience, and the participants who win a prize as well. And we've also been looking at panels and symposiums on witchcraft and narrative game writing. Obviously, this is not an exhaustive list, it's just this kind of start of stuff. So we're now open to questions, but if you're interested, as Michael said, in kind of expressions of interest, being involved or getting this into your venues, do contact us. The best place to reach us is on evolve@librariesunlimited.org.uk. You can also see stuff on our website, which is librariesevolve.org.uk. I'll leave the space for questions.
Hello, thank you everyone, Daniel and Michael, and we've got Lizzie, Carl and Matt in their cold workshop space. It's a fantastic idea, and we heard you talking more about it in our session last Friday, Daniel, but we are keen to know more. So I was just wondering, because what's quite interesting is with this particular piece is you were originally looking at creating something that appealed to an audience of teenagers or young people of that age. Can you tell us a bit more how you began the process of working out how you would do that?
I guess this is a question for us, but also for Lizzie and Carl. So it's quite a drop off for us in libraries of having those kind of that teenage audience in an active way, and so it felt like it was a sort of perfect opportunity to look at this kind of escape room format as a way of attracting those audiences in. Lizzie, Carl, Matt, is it worth? Have you got any reflections on your kind of process? I could say that there were quite a lot of focus groups that happened with people in those demographics. So we set up focus groups across Devon with people of varying different abilities who are teenage groups to kind of get their feedback and get them to feed into the experience and to affect this this new version. But I'll hand over.
Yeah, so I think we were really excited by the idea of trying to like bring a group back into the libraries that weren't necessarily using it. So that was a really nice challenge kind of proposed by Libraries Unlimited. And then we kind of like partly focused, we kind of just did what we really enjoyed, didn't we?
Yeah.
There was a little bit of that kind of like selfishness, but also a very early part of the working with Libraries Unlimited, we knew that we wanted to actually get like that kind of audience participation and collaboration really early on as well. So within like the first 3 weeks of us starting to work on it, we travelled down to Exeter and went to the 3 libraries that the original Lost Librarian was held in, and actually did kind of like feedback sessions where anyone who was just coming into the library, we could actually kind of like, we gave them some kind of like pointers and kind of like questions to respond to, all about like their use of libraries, like their kind of like favorite stories that they enjoy, you know, why they use the library, are they looking for any other kind of reasons to use the library, and that kind of thing, and just kind of like sparked conversations to give us better feedback on what we might like to create for the experience.
Yeah, that's from the original brief that me and Lizzie wrote the proposal for, which is what won the first iteration of Libraries Unlimited. It was all about getting different demographics into libraries and showcasing and exploring what libraries could do. And obviously we were like, oh cool, we like puzzles, we like games, let's turn this into a game. So hiding books in libraries, which is already full of books, was a good way, we think, for people to go and explore libraries. Obviously COVID means that might not be possible so much, but we found workarounds.
I think one of the questions that's come up as well is you've talked about £12 a ticket as an idea for this piece. We were just, one of the questions that's come up from the audience is how do you imagine managing that? So is it £12 per person or £12 per group, and how will that work logistically in terms of ticketing and managing people and the space and the use and bubbles and keeping people safe?
So, sorry. So we're trialing it as £12 per group, which is based upon 6 people. So it's £2 per head if it's a full 6 people. So trying to keep it the sort of cost levels as cheap as possible, really. And like I said, we will ask people for feedback about what they kind of feel about the kind of level of prices against the experience. So yeah, it was just to be a one-off £12 for the whole experience.
And for us as libraries, just to say, we're trying to be as safe as possible with this. So the experience is going to be offered out to family bubbles or to support group bubbles, or educational bubbles of up to 6 at a time. So it's not just 6 friends who can come along. It's very much, you need to be a family group, and that's partly around. It's quite difficult to socially distance actively in this experience, I think, because it's quite hands-on.
Someone else has asked as well, do you see this working in mobile libraries?
Interesting thought. I don't see why not. As long as they got space, but it depends how crammed the mobile library is, I guess.
Well, and I guess I mean I can picture it. I mean, I guess if the weather's good, like with ever trying to do an event in a small space, if you can use an outdoor space, but take that piece of work out into rural communities, then totally. I think it could work.
Yeah, absolutely. I
mean, that's something we can explore with you on through our project, our library project at the NRTF.
I think it can work. I mean, I think the beauty of it as it stands is that, you know, obviously it's something that's been developed for library spaces, but as it goes into this kind of escape room format, it could work in any 4x4 space or bigger, you know, so it's just a small space in the village hall or a small a dressing room, you know, there's all of a sudden the possibilities open up. So I think it's like looking at the opportunity of this time.
It's a fantastic idea, and people have responded really well so far, I think, to what seems to be really inspirational and a use of some really interesting digital technology. I mean, obviously, it sounds like you've had quite a period of sort of research and development with it, and it's great that you've been able to do that with audiences. But you feel confident that it's ready to go out there, and I guess that's what you're hoping to do in November is further see the response from audiences. What else are you hoping to gain from releasing it into the world in November?
Yeah, so actually once we finish production, we've got about 3 weeks of testing at our studio here in Bristol. So that's to kind of get it ready for the libraries. And then from the time that it's actually based down in Exeter and on its kind of like first kind of like regional tour, it just gives us the chance to kind of like fine tune anything that might still be a bit glitchy, because all of this is completely bespoke, and like Kyle has basically kind of come up with all of these incredible things out of his own head. It's kind of just taking that time, and you know, it is as much as it's a game, it's also a work of art, and so we're just trying to kind of like give it as much attention as we can to kind of really fully resolve any problems that it's still having. But the R&D is so helpful. Like every time a different person plays one of the puzzles, we learn more about how to tailor that experience. So as Kyle showed you on the front covers, the reason that there's lights within there, it's so that you get a sense of feedback. So even if you touch the wrong symbol on the front cover, you're still knowing that the object is responding to you. And so with some of the later books, we actually introduce audio as a feedback as well. So it's just making sure that there's lots of ways that people know that the technology is listening to them and responding to them, and it's not just like literally a piece of wood.
And Lizzie, you probably know that you can answer this. So will there always be one, or at least one member of your team there?
No, so the experience is completely like portable and can kind of just be looked after itself. So as part of our handover to Libraries Unlimited, we're writing an in-depth manual, and we're hoping to support that with like kind of troubleshooting videos and things like that, just to help anyone that takes this on like kind of like fully understand like the maintenance and care that's required to host this experience. So it's like the actual books themselves, like we first created them so that they could live just on the library shelves, as Kyle said before. So there was always that thing of like potentially, you know, you could just put 10 books in a box and just send them off and they can be plugged in, and then you're good to play. So obviously turning it into an escape room setup has made it that little bit more complicated and a little bit bigger for touring. But it still offers that opportunity where essentially all you need to do is space the podiums out, put the lights on and plug it all in, and it's good to go.
And
sounds great.
Just to jump in with that as well, I mean, we're obviously in a fortunate position in Devon Libraries where we're able to communicate with the whole network quite easily. So we've got a staff training offer where any library that signs up will go along and be able to attend or access those resources. But we're equally aware that if there is an interest in this nationally, that it might be that we look at touring it with a kind of tour manager, essentially a production manager who goes out with it physically, who's then able to maintain and look after the books. So that is a possibility. But we're at this stage, we just thought it was too good an opportunity not to put it out to people and see if there was an appetite or an interest for this nationally.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and I'm hoping to come and see it, because I'm only down the road from Exeter. So I'm going to come and and experience it myself, hopefully. So if anyone is looking to tour this and have this in their venue, whether that's a library or a village hall or a mobile library, who's the best person to contact?
We've got an email which is just evolve@librariesunlimited.org.uk, so evolve@librariesunlimited.org.uk, and if you email that address, that goes to all of the Evolve team, so someone can pick it up, and we can get back to you very quickly.
Is it worth just saying there was a question at the bottom that came up about how many sessions we were running? So we were looking at running, we're going to trial it on 5 sessions during starting at sort of 10:30 for the first session and running it through to the end of the day, which would give us about 5 sessions with the half an hour clean down turnaround time. So that's what we're trialing, but there's no reason if it went into an evening, you know, if the venue's open, or if it is in a village hall or something like that, then actually you could run it into early evening sessions as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, everyone. We wish you good luck in November with launching it, and hopefully we can help you to promote it in the spring of 2021 when it goes beyond Devon. But good luck with it all, and I'll see you there.
Great.
Thank you. I'm going to welcome Holly back into the fold.
Hello. We have come to the end of the day. Thank you guys so much. That just sounds brilliant, and I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it in action and out and about November onwards. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Jess. Thank you, Steffi, and thank you, Ellen, who have all been behind the scenes with our conference today. I hope you've enjoyed the day. Thank you to everyone who has stayed with us. It is day 3, now finished. It's been great to see so many people interacting with the app today. The leaderboard is being taken over by schemes. So those individuals need to start sharing things and getting noticed by the leaderboard, which is basically if you like or comment or share a photo, you go up, you get points, and whoever wins will get a prize of some kind. Just want to let you know that on Friday we have our open space session, and this week 10 a.m. on Friday we are joined by Hannah Bruce and Cassie Catchpole, who are both touring relationship managers of Arts Council England. They're going to give a 45-minute presentation on Arts Council's National Lottery project grants, and also going to be talking about developing your creative practice grants. And after that, there'll be a kind of one-to-one and group sessions, and you can ask questions and get exactly what you need from them to ask questions about grants going forward. And if you can't join us then hopefully we'll see you again at 10 a.m. next Tuesday for our final day of the conference. It feels like it's been going on forever, which is a good thing because we've been enjoying it. But on Tuesday, we've got leadership and mental health day, and we have got some incredible speakers for you. So look forward to seeing you there. Thank you again to everyone, all our speakers, workshop leaders, panelists, artists, poets who have joined us today. It's been wonderful and very inspirational.